So I'm going to explain how to complete the fourth encounter of the Salvation's Edge raid Verity, but I'm only going to be explaining the symbol portions of this encounter. I am not going to be explaining the witness killing members of the fire team encounter and being brought back to life with the ghosts. So if you are looking for a complete raid guide, I would suggest watching another video first. This guide is intended for people who have, potentially already seen another guide for the encounter or have done it a few times, so are a little bit familiar with the mechanics, but maybe don't fully understand every portion of the symbol mechanic. So this guide aims to explain the symbols mechanic in their entirety, and maybe provide some new strategies or insights that people are not already aware of. I will be covering 4 main topics in this video. I'll be covering how to do the solo rooms in the easy way, which is the way most people are probably doing it. How to do the main 3-person room, where you have to make the 3D shapes. A more advanced way of doing the solo rooms, which is quicker if everybody knows how to do it. And then also talking about the 4th encounter challenge. This video is unscripted, although I do have some bullet points to explain in each section. I do not have any gameplay footage to show, so I will just be explaining the various encounters and doing live demonstrations using pictures of the symbols. So, as a very quick explanation of this encounter, just as a refresher, the basic principle is that at the start of each phase, 3 people will be taken to their own solo room, where one of the 3 statues will represent that person, and 3 people will stay in the main room. The objective of the people in the solo rooms is to pick up shapes, to give shapes to each other, and then pick up shapes which are not the shape your statue started with. Pick up 2 of them to make a key to get out, and for the people in the main room, the 3 people, they need to also interact with different shapes to make 3D shapes, and the 3D shape that they make has to match the 3D shape that the player is holding. So effectively, solo players are making a key, and the main room is making a lock, and as long as the lock and the key match for each of the 3 people who are solo, they will be able to rejoin the main room. I will break that down in more detail when we come on to each of the rooms. So, starting off with the solo room and the simple way to do it. So this is the way most people are probably familiar with doing it. It's the way most LFG groups are probably doing it, and also, the easiest way to teach somebody for the first time. There is a very simple 5-step process to follow this, which if you follow those 5 steps, you can solve this encounter every time, regardless of what combination you are given in terms of symbols. So the first step, if you are a solo player and you get taken, is to find which of the 3 statues in the room is your statue, and also therefore you will find out which shape your statue is holding. In addition to this, one of the 3 people who is torn, although sometimes multiple people do it, should put in the text chat, or if you don't have the ability to, just verbally communicate it, what the call out order is of the symbols. So for example, here we have a triangle on the left, a circle in the middle, and a square on the right. So someone could put in the text chat TCS to represent that. And that is needed for the main room to do their part. So you find which of the 3 statues is your character, obviously looking at the armor, and then therefore you will see what symbol you are holding. So that is step 1. Find your statue, find your shape. Step 2 is to give people their shapes. So to do that, in your room you should have 2 knights. You kill a knight. If it drops the symbol you are holding, so in this example, imagine I am the left statue, so I'm triangle. If I kill a knight and it drops a triangle, I can just leave that triangle on the ground. If I kill a knight and it drops a circle, I pick up that circle and I give that circle to the circle room, which is the middle one, and I just leave my triangle symbol on the ground for now. The middle player, who is circle, is doing the same thing. They want to give their square to the right. and then the person who's currently right wants to give their triangle to the left. So if everybody does that initially, then you are in a stage which we call, double symbols. So everybody now has a double of their symbol on their own back wall. It may be a situation at the start where you already have a double on your back wall, and if you do, that is great. You can skip the first step and you are already up to the phase we are now. So it's actually easier if you start with a double symbol. The second step is what we then call give people the shape, give away your own shapes. So again, as the triangle player, I would want to give one triangle to the middle, and I would want to give one triangle to the right. So I'm just giving them both away. The circle player would want to give away one circle to the left and one circle to the right, and the square player would give one square to the left and one square to the middle. And once that is done, you would then have the two symbols you need to make your key. So the triangle player has a circle and a square in their room, the circle player has a square and a triangle in the room, and the square player has a circle and a triangle in their room. All you do then is you kill the knights again, pick up both shapes at the same time this time to make your key, and then once you are holding that key, you will be able to exit through the back of the room, assuming the main room has done their steps. A few extra little points to note here, just to explain the flow of the encounter a bit more. If you do not see any knights in your room, then you have an ogre in your room that needs to be killed. And basically, when you are given a symbol by another player, that actually comes in initially as an ogre, and then when you kill that ogre, the knight spawns, and then killing the knight drops the symbol. So that is a good way to, tell when you've been gifted a symbol. If there is suddenly an ogre in your room, you've been gifted a symbol. Another minor point to make note of, at some point during this encounter, or during these swaps, the three players, you three solo players, will be killed for the ghost sort of bringing guardians back to life phase. If you see your character start, being killed, you see it starting to crack, do not deposit a symbol just as you are about to die, because that can cause things to bug out a little bit, and either the deposit won't count, or actually that shape may just be completely lost, which means you've soft locked the encounter and you have to wipe. So as soon as you see the witness start killing the three solo players, do not deposit any shapes. You will still be holding any shape you've picked up in your inventory when you come back to life. So don't feel like you've got to rush to deposit it somewhere before you get killed. Just let yourself be killed, and when you're back to life, carry on with what you were doing. Another very small point, if you have given away both shapes in your room, and you have not yet been gifted any shapes by any of the other players, then your back wall, where you normally see your shapes, will actually just look like a cog or like a saw wheel. That just basically means you don't have any shapes. But as soon as you are gifted a shape, I say it will come in as an ogre, and then when you kill that ogre, it will drop a shape. And finally, another point to note is if you accidentally pick up a symbol that you didn't mean to pick up and you don't want to give it away, what you can actually do as a way to sort of just reset this is pick up another symbol at the same time. So again, you're picking up two symbols at the same time. And then if you interact with either of the statues in your room using those two symbols, you basically just dispose of them. But the knights will come back because it was like an invalid interaction. So yeah, if you've accidentally picked something up, don't send it away to somebody, because then they've got to send it back to you. Pick up another symbol and then just dispose of it, and you'll get it back as the knights. And I guess the final extra thing to note here is you will not be able to interact with your own statue. So although I say you should be fairly obvious which statue you are, if you've picked up a shape and it is not letting you interact with the statue, that's your statue. You can't give a symbol to yourself. So just to quickly reiterate the 5 steps, and I say these should be done in order, especially between step 2 and step 3. You do not want to move on to step 3 until everyone has done step 2. So step 1, find your statue, find which shape you are. Step 2, give people their shapes, and if you don't have any of anyone else's shapes, if you have a double, you can just ignore this step. When everybody is done with step 2, so everybody is in possession of doubles, give away both of your shapes, one to each of the other statues. Pick up both of the shapes you have been given, which again should be 2 different shapes, and both of them should be different from the shape you were holding. Pick up both of them, that's your key, and then just go wait by the back to exit when the main room has finished. So that is the easy, simple way of doing the solo room. I will now explain how to do the main room dissection, which is where you are needing to make 3D shapes. The statues are needing to hold 3D shapes, and those 3D shapes need to correspond to the keys that the solo players are exiting with. So at the bottom here, you can see that there are actually 6 possible 3D shapes. There are on the left what people sometimes call the perfect 3D shapes. So they are 2 of the same 2D shape. 2 squares make a cube, 2 circles make a sphere, 2 triangles make a tetrahedron. And then on the right, you have what people call the complex 3D shapes. So they are 2 different 2D shapes. Circle and square make a cylinder. Circle and triangle make a cone. Triangle and square make a sort of prism, a triangular square prism. Using sort of the same example, or should I say same callouts from the previous one. So if triangle, circle and square was the inside callout, TCS should have been put in the text chat as the callout. So the main room would then use this TCS callout to know what 3D shape they have to make. And basically, you do not want a triangle on the left. You want, again, going back to the solo, you want a circle and a square, or a cylinder. You do not want a circle you do not want a circle in the middle. You want a triangle and a square. And you do not want a square on the right. You want a circle and a cone. So the opposite 2 symbols. The key and the lock has to match. However, the way you do this is slightly different. Instead of giving symbols away, you basically perform swaps in pairs of symbols. And the way to do this is there will always be 3 knights spawning in the main room. They always spawn 3 at a time, 1 on the left, 1 in the middle, 1 on the right. And they always drop circle on the left, triangle in the middle, square on the right. When all 3 knights have been killed and either their symbols picked up or they just despawn due to being left on the ground for too long, 2 unstoppable ogres will come in, and then once those ogres have died, 3 more knights will respawn. So the main room always has access to all 3 symbols. The way you do the swaps is you have to interact with a statue with a shape that statue is holding, and by doing that you are effectively priming that statue to be swapped. And then you interact with another statue with a different symbol, and then those 2 swap. So as an example, if I was to kill the knight on the left, which drops a circle, and pick up that circle, I have the option of interacting with either the left or the middle statue, but I should try and interact with the one that doesn't need that call out. An easy way to do this, sort of a foolproof method to do this, is whatever the callouts were, whatever the solo callouts are, they should be your first 3 interactions. So for my first circle, I'm just going to put it in the middle by killing that knight, and then I will kill the middle knight, which drops a triangle, and I will put the triangle on the left. And by doing that, that has effectively, if I just do the switch now, the triangle and the circle will swap places. So actually we now have a double circle on the left, a triangle and a square in the middle, and a triangle and a square on the right. And I will get rid of them. Those 2 knights, those 2 symbols, those knights dropped have now gone. The only knight still left in the room is the square knight. So I would kill the knight on the right, pick up a square, and then I could interact with one of the 2 statues. But again, following that order, my first 3 interactions, I interact square with square, and that primes the square statue for swapping. Then I say the 2 unstoppables would come in, kill them both, and 3 more knights would respawn, giving me 3 more symbols. Now this should be, when I kill one of these knights, this should be the last interaction that is needed. And if we look at the current setup, you can see the middle statue is actually already been done. So the middle statue now has, I would say it was a circle, and it now has a triangle and a square. So middle statue is done, but the right-hand side statue needs a circle, and the left-hand side statue needs a square. So I would just kill the left-hand side knight again, interact with the circle on the left, say that's them two now primed for swapping. So I will just get rid of those symbols, say they've now been used up, and the square would go over to the right. Sorry, the circle would go over to the right, the square would go over to the left, and that's actually now all 3 done. And if we take a look at this, circle, square on the left on the triangle, and if we look at what our solo player was holding, they would be holding circle, square, triangle, square in the middle, and the middle player would be holding triangle, square, and circle, triangle on the right, and the solo player would be holding circle, triangle. So that is the main room dissection done. Usually you should only need, as I did then, 4 interactions to do this. So I say your first 3, just follow the call out that was given in the main room. So triangle, circle, square, you put a triangle in left, a circle in middle, a square on right. And then when you kill the ogres and more knights come in, you only actually have to do 1 more interaction, and then it should be finished. Now there is one sort of minor difference to this, or one thing to prioritize, and that is if one of your starting shapes has a double. So I will just reset this now and draw some more shapes to give a second scenario. If one of your starting statues starts with a double, so let's suppose the middle starts with double circle, but then it is a triangle and a square on left, and a square and a triangle on right, then in this situation, you want to prioritize double first. So your first interaction should be with the statue that has the double. And after that, once you prioritize the double, you just follow the same rule as before. So, you would go circle into middle, you would prime the circle in the middle, you would then it doesn't really matter which one, we'll do the square next. So we could prime square on right. That will swap the circle and the square. So I'll just do that. That will swap the circle and the square. And then, obviously, there would still be the triangular knight in. So you would kill triangle. You would prime the triangle with the left side. And then when you kill the ogres and they come back in, it'll be the circle you need again. And you put circle to middle. And then, therefore, triangle and circle switch. I didn't mean to grab the side of the square there. And then you see that's finished again. You have circle, square on left, you have square, triangle in middle, and you have circle, triangle on right. So that is them sort of done. So prioritize doubles. If possible, prioritize doubles. Now you also may get a situation where all 3 of your statues are doubles. Unfortunately, if you get this situation, you will need to do 6 interactions, not 4. You cannot do it unless you have to do it in 6, but it is arguably easier because the actions are just very repetitive, and that is, you can just go left to right twice. So you can go triangle, interact triangle on left, interact circle on middle, because they're both doubles, and that will switch one of the triangles with one of the circles. You then, the only one you have is square, and then as soon as you kill the ogres and the knights come back in, you can go triangle again. That swaps the other triangle with a square, and then finally you only have 2 left, which is circle in middle, square on right, and that swaps one of the squares with one of the circles. So by doing that, all of the swaps I have done. Effectively, each statue needs to be swapped with twice to get rid of both of the symbols it shouldn't have. So that is the slightly more long-winded solution, just because it involves doing six swaps, or should I say 6 interactions, 3 swaps in total. But it's also one of the easiest because you don't really have to think about it. The only other, I guess, minor point to reiterate about this is try and say to your ad clear people not to just randomly kill knights, because if they kill a knight, then it drops its symbol on the floor, and if you're not ready for that symbol yet, then it might despawn. So if they can, try and avoid killing the knights until you're ready to pick them up. The symbols do stay on the floor for a while, but obviously you don't want to lose them. And if you are waiting for knights to spawn in and there is a symbol on the floor, then actually you could ask one of your ad clear people to pick that symbol up, because once all the symbols have been picked up, the ogres will spawn. They will not spawn in if there is still a symbol on the floor that has not been picked up. So that is how to do dissection. Say the end goal, what you are ultimately aiming to do, is to have your statue holding the 3D shape, which matches the key that the person from that statue is going to be coming out with, which should be the 2 opposite symbols. So now I'm going to explain a slightly more advanced way of doing the solo room. This more advanced way is quicker if everybody knows how to do it, because it involves less interactions. However, it is not as simple as the first one, where there are just 5 steps that everybody can follow. There are effectively 3 different scenarios, and depending on which scenario you have to do a slightly different interaction. And if you do the wrong one, it will mess it up. So that is why it is the more advanced strategy. I would not recommend this for LFG groups or just people getting their first time clear. But I would say if you've got a fixed raid team and people who understand this encounter, then it is probably quicker to do it this way. And because it reduces the amount of interactions, it reduces how many ogres spawn, which could be useful on Master, because on Master the ogres that do spawn are unstoppable ogres. So if you can reduce how many ogres spawn, then there's less chance to die to champions, or it goes quicker. The advantage of this strategy is that each player only has to give away their first 2 symbols, and that is it. And once they have given away their first 2 symbols, any symbol they receive is the symbol they need to exit. So it only involves 2 interactions, and then obviously picking up the next 2 symbols that you are given. It effectively skips out the phase where people double up their own symbols. So I will explain the 3 different scenarios and how to solve them. And hopefully it makes sense. To make the annotation on this one a little bit easier, I have color-coded the 3 symbols using the same colors from the witness fight. So triangles are green and squares are red. Obviously in the encounter, all of the shapes look red that get dropped, but this just makes it easier to differentiate them. So the first scenario that can occur is, the first thing to do when you spawn in, you should still do the first step. You want to find which your statue is, and therefore which shape your guardian is holding, and you'll also then be able to see what shapes you have on your back wall. You still want to do that first step, identify yourself and identify what your shape is. It should also be put in the text chat what that call out order is for the main room. That's still needed. So in this example, the order is still TCS. What you then need to do is all 3 people need to look at their back wall, and if you see a double symbol on your back wall, you need to call out double, because nobody can start doing their interactions until you know if there is a double symbol anywhere or not. Now in this example here, all 3 people have doubles, but remember, it might not be all 3. You could have 1 player with a double and then 2 players who have got 1 of each shape. So in this example, all three people should really shout out double straight away. And if you've got doubles, then that is arguably the easiest strategy, because what you would just do is each player would just give away both of their symbols like you do in the normal way of doing things. So, both the triangle player gives both away, one to each. The circle player gives both away, and the square player gives both away. That is the solution, and actually say that is the easiest. So that is noted at the bottom here on the left side. So D meaning double. If there is a double, that is what you do. Obviously, I'm using triangle as an example here. These could be any shapes. So if you're double square, you would just give one square to triangle, one square to circle, etc. For the purpose of this solution, you don't really need to know what the other players are doing. So if you are the double triangle, that is all you need to know, that you are a double. It doesn't actually matter whether your two teammates are also doubles or if they are singles, but it does matter that you are a double and you should call it out. So I say doubles is the easiest. If you are a double, that is the easiest. You just give both of them away. What if you are not a double? What if there is one double but also two singles? So let's imagine this is the starting combination. So we still have a double somewhere. Circle is a double, but triangle and square are not doubles. They both have one each. Well, then we are using the middle combination. So S meaning you are a single, but D meaning there is a double somewhere in one of the three rooms. And what you want to do in this situation is you want to give your shape that you are holding, so in this example, the triangle, to the other shape, to the statue holding the other shape that is in your room. So as it just happens in this example, that is square. My second shape is a square. So I give triangle to square, and then I give the square to the other symbol that is not present in my room. So I'll just do that. I give my triangle to my square player, and I give my square to the circle player, the one not present in my room. Square would do the same thing. So actually, in their case, they are square. The other symbol present in their room is triangle. They give square to triangle. And then they give triangle to the symbol not present in their room, which is circle. And then circle, this is what I meant last time of it doesn't matter what their teammates are doing. As soon as the circle player saw that they are a double, they are following the left side guidance, which is just give both of your shapes away, one to each player. So circle gives one away to left and one away to right. And in this combination again, if I just circle around them, you end up with three finished combinations, which are different to your starting symbol. So by just doing each person doing two interactions, you have immediately got to the finished solution. There is no need for doubling up. This one here, that what I just did, is probably the most complicated of the three scenarios as well. The final scenario is just simply, what if nobody has a double? So to do this, I'll just swap two more symbols around. So I'll move a triangle over to the middle, and I'll move a circle over to the left. So now we've got triangle, square, circle, triangle, and then square, circle. So nobody now has any doubles. Well, then we are using the right side solution. So S meaning you are a single, and the brackets S to mean that all three people are singles, or there is no double. This solution is actually, probably the second easiest, and it is just you need to give away both of your shapes to the statue holding the symbol not present in your room. So again, I'll do the left one first as the example. Triangle, square. So I have a triangle and a square. I need to give both of them to circle because that is not in my room. So I'll just to sort of do a grouped together. Both of them go to mid. So that leaves triangle and square. The middle player, circle, triangle. But what's the one that they are missing? They don't have a square. So they give both of them to the square side. And then finally, right side, what are they missing? Square, circle, they are missing a triangle. They give both of them to the triangle. And that is, again, the finished solution, which still reaches the same end goal. So you end up with pairs, which are what are needed as the keys. So just to, I guess, also clarify something in this that most people probably don't realize is possible. You can double dunk on the same statue. It is, I guess, a common misconception that each player has to interact with both statues. That is not true. You can actually give both of your symbols to the same statue, and that is okay. Because in this example, the left side triangle person has only interacted with the circle statue, the middle person has only interacted with right, and the right person has only interacted with left. That is okay. That in itself will not cause you to fail the encounter, as long as you are doing this strategy and everyone is interacting in this same way. So in all three of these possible bottom combinations, you only need to do 2 interactions to reach the finished solution, which is why it is quicker than doing things the other way, because in the other way you normally do 3, because you would always have to give one symbol away and then you give away both of your symbols. So it cuts down the number of interactions by 1 per player. The most important part about this strategy is obviously everybody needs to make sure you're on the same page, because it doesn't follow the usual rules. So only do it with people who are all on the same same plan. And probably the most important thing is getting that double call out straight away. So finding out whether any of the 3 solo players has a double or not, because depending on if they do, obviously has a great influence over which of the second or the third strategy the single players have to do. Obviously the double player is easy, but the other 2 players don't know what they have to do until they know if there is a double or not. Finally, I will now explain how the weekly challenge goes, because it introduces an extra sort of mechanic to the encounter, which most people did not even realize was possible until the challenge came out. To put it simply, the challenge is that when exiting the solo room, all 6 possible 3D keys have to be used before any of them are used a second time. So what I mean by that, if I just go back to this screenshot here and we focus on the bottom, as I explained before, there are 6 possible 3D shapes. Now, the normal way of doing this, what everyone knows up to this point, is to always make a 3D key to exit using 2 different components. That is what I've been explaining up to this point. You can actually also exit your solo rooms using a perfect 3D key, so a cube, a sphere, or a tetrahedron. You just cannot be holding a perfect key which matches the symbol you had. So if you were the triangle player, you can exit with either a cube or a sphere. That is okay. And most people did not even realize that was possible. Now, when doing the challenge, I'll come back and explain it. It will only tell you that you have failed at the end of the second phase. So when the 3 people exit for the second time, then it will tell you if you have failed or not. Because up till that point, you have not had the chance to basically use up duplicate exit keys. So the easiest way to do the challenge is just to do the very first phase completely normally. So you do the normal swaps, normal dissections, 5 players get killed, and then when the 5 players come back to life and you are starting phase 2, that is when things need to go a little bit different for the challenge. Now, actually, the best way to do it is you still want to do things in the solo rooms completely normally up to the point where you would normally be making your exit key. So if I go back to my sort of first example, if this was my first example of a solo simple room, these here at the bottom were what my exit keys were. So triangle needs circle, circle needs square needs circle, triangle. And that will be my starting point of the explanation for the challenge. So you do things normally up to the point of you would normally have your exit keys. And you can get to this way either doing things the simple way or the advanced way. It doesn't matter. If possible, I would probably recommend the advanced way, because the advanced way should get you there quicker, allowing you more time to do the challenge. But as long as everybody is going, somewhat quick, you should be able to do things the simple, more long-winded way and still have time to do the challenge. What you need to do for this then is each player will need to do one more swap to make perfect 3D shapes. So at the very start of the encounter, when the solo players load in, somebody should have put in the text chat the call out of, T for the triangle, C for circle, S for square, or that is the normal call out. And then normally what is needed to exit is, I say, you make these combinations here. There are actually two possible solutions that could be done. I will show what both of them are, and then in the actual encounter, you just need to pick one of them and decide at the start. So for the triangle, the solution could either be to have double square, and then if it's double square, you would have double triangle in the middle and double circle on the right. Or you could do it the other way, and you could have double circle, double square, and double triangle. Because either one of these, you have effectively shifted the call out left or right once. So the T has gone to the middle, C has gone to the right, S has looped around, or you do it the other way. It doesn't matter which one of these, both of these solutions are acceptable, but that should be decided at the very start. So as soon as TCS is put in the text chat at the very beginning as the call out, somebody should decide which combination you are doing. It doesn't matter which one, just pick one. And the reason why you need to pick one is for the main room, but I will explain that in a second. So how do we get from what we have here? Let's just say for this example, we are going to use the top one. So we're going to go for SSTTCC. Well, the way you do that is the left side currently has a square, but they have a circle and they don't need the circle. So they are going to give the circle to the player on the right. The player on the right who is holding a triangle doesn't need that, so they are going to give their triangle to the middle, and the player in the middle with a square is going to give theirs. So everybody does one interaction, passes one of their symbols, and then you have, as a double here. You've got square, square, triangle, triangle, circle, circle. Just to show that it's possible, if you were doing it the other way, you would give your square to the middle. The middle player with the triangle would give that to the right, and the player on the right with the circle would give that, and then you have circle, circle, square, square, triangle, triangle. So either way is possible, because the two shapes you are holding do not match your starting shape. The reason why this should be decided up front is, remember what I've been saying, I guess, from the start, the keys and the locks need to match. The main room, the dissection room, also needs to finish with this same setup. So where they would normally, if I just rearrange it, if they were doing things normally, they would get to a situation like this. So there would be a circle and a square on left. There would be a square and a triangle in the middle, and then there would be a circle and a triangle on the right. That's how they would normally get to, but obviously that doesn't match. Whatever keys are being made, they need to match. So actually, while I've got it here, it's circle, 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 square, square, triangle, triangle. So we're now actually going for the bottom one as the solution. we're going to go for the bottom. Circle, circle, square, square, triangle, triangle. Well, then this room here, I'll just write it down so we don't forget. Circle, 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 square, square, triangle, triangle. How do we get to that? Well, they would need to do a few more extra dissections from what is normally the finished position to get to that combination. So the statue on the left, currently holding a square, doesn't need a square. They would have to send that, they would interact with that. Where needs the square? Well, it's the middle, which is currently holding a triangle. So initially, square would get swapped with a triangle. And now at least the middle is double square. But then you've still got the other two wrong. And you would swap that same triangle again over to right. And you would take the circle from right and put it in left. And then double circle, double square, double triangle. And the challenge, double circle, double square, double triangle. It is possible to do the dissection in a shorter way. You don't have to get it to the point of where it would normally be done and then do it again. Some people might find it easier doing it that way. But if you can, once it is decided at the very start, we are going to go for CCSSTT, the person dissecting can just work with that in mind and try and get to this finished combination in whatever is the quickest way for them. So dissection doesn't really have to follow a set path. They just need to get to the same end goal. But for the solo players, you basically have to do this extra step. You do things as normal, and then once you've got to what would normally be your exit keys, everybody has to pass one more shape to double up on something different other than your own. Yeah, I think that is everything explained about the challenge, how to do it. I will just, again, reiterate the main point for the solo rooms. You might think it is possible to potentially, take some shortcuts and not do it this way. But don't try and take the shortcuts. Do it the normal way. And then once you have got to what is normally your exit keys, then pass on one more time to exit. A few extra points, sort of just miscellaneous points that I want to explain that I feel are maybe not always necessarily covered. Almost like a few misconceptions. The first one, you must always give away your starting symbols. That is almost like the first given. So even in an example where, I'll just go to the simplified one, even in an example where maybe your starting symbols were, I'll just erase these and write them again. Even in a situation where your starting symbols, you always can, you will always start with one of your symbol and one symbol you don't need. So I'll write that first of all. You will always start with one of your own symbol and then one of somebody else's symbol. So like this. Technically speaking, the triangle player needs to have a circle. So you might think, well, can they not just keep this circle? No, you always have to give away your starting two symbols. So you would want to give the circle away, and then you are going to be given a circle by somebody else. So that's the first misconception. You always have to give away your starting two symbols. And that is the idea behind the advanced strategy, is that you cannot keep a symbol even if you need it, but you want to try and give that away and immediately be given like a replacement by somebody else. So at an absolute minimum, there will have to be 6 symbols given away, 2 from each player. A reason for that, and also a reason why you can't take a shortcut with the challenge, is to do with the shadows. You may see if you wipe, there is something on the end screen that talks about shadows being removed, and that is not really well explained. So I will try and explain what the shadow mechanic means, because it's not something that you normally have to worry about. And when you do the encounter through either one of these two strategies, the simple or the advanced strategy, you will just do the shadow mechanic without realizing. The shadow mechanic is basically when you are in a solo room. Let's just imagine for this example that we are the left side solo room, but obviously we can see the other two statues. When we have been given a shape, that shape gets removed from our wall. So if somebody gifts us a circle, doesn't matter who it comes from, it doesn't have to come from the person in the circular room, but if somebody gifts us a circle, the circle symbol in our room gets removed from that guardian. And then when somebody gifts us a square, the square one gets removed as well. Your own symbol will stay above your guardian to show that you were triangle, but that is why you might see symbols, having disappeared by the end. When you do this encounter through either of the normal strategies, that will always happen. Because of the way it is done, you are always being given either one shape from each person, or even in the advanced strategy, two shapes from the same person, but you are always being given the two shapes you need to exit, which means your shadows get removed. However, if you try to take a shortcut and go straight to this SSTTCC or whatever combination, I'll just quickly draw it out. If my starting symbols were triangle, obviously circle, square, because you always start with that, and then let's imagine square starts with a double. So you have circle, you have triangle, circle, circle, triangle, square, square. They might try and do a shortcut here. So you could think, oh, well, I will just, I will send my triangle to the middle, and, maybe even the middle player who needs a triangle will just, keep hold of it. We've already said you can't do that. Again, we'll send a circle to the left, and then sorry, I don't know why I've just done that. That's the wrong way. So triangle go left, triangle from left go right, triangle from mid go right, circle on the left obviously stay, circle goes there, and then both of these squares would go to the middle. You might think you can do that. Well, no, because that's actually going to break two things. First of all, the person on the left cannot keep their circle because you have to always give it away. And then the second thing is the left side statue has never actually been given a square. It has only ever been given a circle from the middle. So although the triangle room would have had the circle shadow removed, it would still have a square shadow because it has never been gifted a square shape. So that is why you want to do things normally to start off with, because you need to make sure that every statue, left, mid, right, has always been, or I should say every room has always been given both shapes that are different. So you have to do it normally to start off with to remove the shadows, and then once the shadows have been removed, you do the pass them on one more time to make the doubles. So do not try to take any shortcuts doing the challenge, or it might fail. And I think the only final point for me to say, really, although I did say it earlier, just to reiterate it, is you might think, well, why would you ever do the advanced strategy that I explained? Because obviously it's more complicated. There's 3 scenarios people need to learn instead of just one set of rules. I would say, obviously, apart from speed, because it probably only saves maybe 30 seconds, if that. The main reason to do it is probably for doing it on master mode, because on master mode the ogres that spawn are unstoppables. So if you can reduce how many interactions you have to do, it's less ogres for the solo players to kill in order to trigger their knights, less unstoppables, so just less chance of people dying. So I think the advanced strategy is probably the better strategy to try and do on master. Or if you are going for the challenge mode, because of how many interactions are involved, if you do this the long way and you are going for the challenge, then you would have the initial 3 interactions for people giving away their symbols. You would then have 6 interactions for each of the 2 players giving their own away, and then you would have another 3 interactions for passing the symbols along one more time. That's a total of 12 interactions that might need to be done to do the challenge. Whereas if you do it the advanced way, you would basically only have to do 2 interactions to get to this situation, and then each player has to do 1 more interaction to pass it along. 3 interactions per person, which is 9 in total. So 9 interactions for the challenge doing it the advanced way, as opposed to 12 if you do it the simple way. Anyway, apologies, that was quite a long video. I've just seen that it is nearly up to 50 minutes long, but hopefully there were some useful bits of information there, covering the different strategies that can be used for the symbols. Let me know if you found it useful.